Being a parent is difficult. Being single parent is even more difficult. However, we're not only a parent, we are also a full-fledged person who might want to be in a relationship. And it is not impossible to find love again, but we must be wise. Of all the hardships we can face, divorce is one of the most difficult, especially when we have children. Death is a big pain, but since it is a permanent fatality, we can move on to the other chapter much faster than having a family breakup because we can never really turn the page. We must keep in touch with our ex for the education of the children, for the week of childcare, etc. Not only that, there are some character traits, even physical sign of our partner in each child. So we can never forget our broken marriage. We cannot turn the page and start over as easily. And divorce is never sudden. It is always after a long series of suffering that we come to this final decision. When one of our loved one is very sick and we take care of them every day, we also suffer daily. When this loved one dies, we are very sad, but relief also at the same time. However, in the case of a divorce, we suffer for several months, even years. And when we're forced to end the relationship, if children are in the picture, our relief is never complete. And we're not even talking about like the snarling partners who have made it their goal to make their ex miserable by continuing to persecute them even after the divorce. No wonder God does not like divorce. No good parent wants their children to go through such a terrible emotional breakdown. Jesus understands very well how we feel and he shares our suffering. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses. Hebrew 4:15a. Jesus' sacrifice on the cross allows us to forgive others, to forgive ourselves, to be delivered from bitterness, and to be healed from our past relationship. We can receive new life in Christ, but we also have the great responsibility of taking care of our children. They too suffered in the process. They heard the arguments, the harsh words spoken between their parents. Yes, each parent has weaknesses, but children love both parents. And when our heart is bleeding, we sometimes seek comfort in the love of our children. And this can lead to an unconscious desire to appropriate our children. At least you love me. Do you love me more than your father? Then the children are torn between their desire to comfort us and their love for their two parents. The father and mother are supposed to be an indestructible column on which the children stand to grow. When this column is shaken, children feel instability and fear. Another good reason for God to hate divorce. This is all what we have to keep in mind when we're going through a divorce. After this fateful moment, we must take the time to receive our healing from God, to reestablish our solid relationship with Him. And at the same time, we need to become a solid pillar for our children. God is the defender of widows, the father of the fatherless, like Psalm 68:5 says. So he will know how to be our strength when we are alone to be the pillar of our children. But let's take the time to rebuild ourselves. After a divorce, the solution is certainly not to find another partner as quickly as possible. Your children don't need a new father or a new mom. They need security, a new solid base. A year of celibacy even seems very little to rebuild ourselves and rebuild the stability of our children. It is not uncommon for singles parents to take several years to open their heart to another partner, and that is fine. When your relationship with God, with yourself, and with your children is strong enough to think about starting a new relationship, do not make it a daily mission either. Your children remain your priority if they live with you. They were there long before this new person. Make sure they are comfortable with the whole process. You have to show the example of a person who learns from their mistakes. You alone are the image of God for your children. They will understand how God's loved them by comparing that love to the love and care you give them. My children or my love life? As long as your children are your responsibility, you will have to sacrifice yourself for the good of your children. It will not be impossible to fall in love again, but while you're developing your new love life, you should always take the time to check the state of your self esteem, your relationship with God, and the psychological stability of your children. Now, if you're on the other side and you're thinking of dating a divorced person, knowing all this, be compassionate and patient. This person has much value and is as precious as any other single person, but they have a past and a responsibility that requires you to be more delicate. Their painful experience will be an asset for a future relationship. They will know what not to do. But the price of this treasure requires a more thoughtful investment on your part.